Sophie Blanchard was a French aeronaut known throughout Europe for her ballooning exploits. She was the first woman to work as a professional balloonist. Her flights at festivals and celebrations were amazing but also perilous, and in the summer of 1819, she became the first woman to be killed in an aviation accident. She was born Marie Madeleine Sophie Armand in 1778. Little is known of her life before her marriage to Jean-Pierre Blanchard, a middle-aged inventor who would make his first balloon flight in Paris when she was just 5 years old. He was well known for crossing the English Channel in January 1785. Blanchard and John Jeffreys, an American doctor, became the first men to fly over the English Channel in a hydrogen balloon. Jean-François Rogier, who invented his own balloon, along with his companion, attempted to cross the English Channel on June 15. After making some progress, a change of wind pushed them back over land. The balloon then suddenly deflated and crashed from an estimated height of 1,500 feet. Both occupants perished, and they became the first known aviation fatalities. The couple faced bankruptcy as a result of Jean-Pierre's poor money management. He would spend money on things like silk balloons, dropping parachute-equipped dogs, and launching fireworks from his balloon. Though these shows were spectacular, they got very few customers. Facing ruin, he persuaded his new wife to ride with him, believing that a flying female might be a novel enough idea to bring back the paying crowds, and hopefully attract enough attention to solve their financial problems. Until February 20th, 1808, when Jean-Pierre had a heart attack. He would die as a result. His widow continued to support herself with ballooning demonstrations until doing so also killed her. The couple had still been in debt at the time of his death, so to minimize her expenses, Sophie was as frugal as possible in her choice of balloon. She chose a small hydrogen-filled gas balloon, as it would also free her from having to tend to a fire. Having a smaller, easily inflatable balloon was also important in an era when balloon riots were common. Disappointed crowds were known to destroy balloons and attack aeronauts when they failed to go up as planned. She specialized in night flights, often staying in the air all night. She had made long-distance trips in Italy, crossed the Alps, and generally did everything her husband had hoped to do himself. She paid off his debts and made a reputation for herself. Sophie conducted experiments with parachutes as her husband had, parachuting dogs from her balloon, and as part of her show she launched fireworks and dropped baskets of sparklers attached to small parachutes. Known throughout Europe, she drew large crowds for her shows. Ballooning was a risky business for the pioneers. She would lose consciousness on a couple of occasions, endured freezing temperatures, and almost drowned when she crashed into a marsh. This would not deter her, and she would begin planning her greatest show yet. This display was to be an impressive one with many more fireworks than usual. But she became nervous and hesitant when some spectators implored her not to make the ascent. Others, eager to see the show, urged her on. She finally made up her mind and stepped into her basket at about 10:30 p.m. wearing a white dress, a white hat, and carrying a white flag. The wind was blowing strongly, so the balloon struggled to rise and would brush through the trees as it went up. Once she cleared the treetops, Sophie began the display by waving her flag. The balloon was then illuminated by baskets of Bengal fire. A few moments after beginning her display, the balloon was seen to be in flames. Some reports say that the balloon momentarily disappeared behind the clouds and that when it reappeared it was on fire. Whatever the circumstances, the gas in the balloon was burning. Although the escaping gas was burning, the gas within the balloon maintained enough lift to prevent the craft from plummeting directly to the ground. Some people thought this was part of the show, so they applauded and shouted their approval, until it became apparent that something was wrong. By then it was too late and the balloon's gas exhausted, striking the roof of a house. She might have survived, but the impact had thrown her forwards, trapping her in the netting of the balloon. Unable to stop herself, she fell into the street below. Although the crowds rushed to her assistance and attempts were made to save her, she died instantly, from a broken neck, or at most 10 minutes later. She was 41. The most likely cause of the accident seemed to be that the fireworks attached to her balloon had been knocked out of position by a tree as she ascended. The balloon was heavily loaded and failed to rise quickly enough. When she lit the fuses, the fireworks headed towards the balloon instead of away from it, and one of them burned a hole in the fabric, igniting the gas. A novel published in 2006 by Linda Dawn, titled The Little Balloonist, was inspired by her story. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it.